Welcome to a new episode of the Little Radio Show. My name is Anjelica Cazares. My co-hosts are Sandra Fernandez and Juan Alanis. In today's episode, we talk about the shiny new things that we might not need but really want anyway. We also cover the embarrassing things that we're almost ashamed to admit, like believing in superstitions.
My name is Sandra Fernandez. Blah, blah, blah. So this is supposed to be us introducing ourselves, okay. And I figured I would break the ice by making. I'm watching my two co-hosts take a look
very
at me.
Intensely.
They're being very intense about this whole thing. We decided to try something new this episode, and they're being very intense. So welcome to our new show, to our new episode. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and I'm one of your co-hosts. I am the publisher of HispanicHouston.com, and you can hear more about me as the show progresses, and my co-hosts are looking at me like I've lost my mind.
Okay, so my name is Anjelica Cazares. I am the co-creator and the co-founder of Juan. I was going to say Juan Alanis. No, I'm not the co-creator of you. I am the co-creator of won&rsquo. I also do my own thingy on the side called Crafty Thrifter, which basically means I just thrift for a living. And I also run the self-awareness of the Selfie Project on Instagram.
Oh, well, I think that pretty much sums it all up. But yeah, I'm the co-founder of won&rsquo, and here with the Little Radio Show. But you know, I think this is a great way to just kind of talk. You're lost. You got me there, Sandra.
I'm sorry. I did. We were kind of staring at this thing like, what is she gonna say?
You're like blah blah blah. I was like, what?
That's not part of it.
So on that note, we're going to get started with today's topics. It seems like every year we hear a great announcement from tech giant Apple about this great and wonderful upgrades that they have either to the software, to the product line, or to the design of existing products. This year they came out with a couple of things that sounded very interesting to me, I have to tell you.
Well, every year, like in September, you already know like that something's coming from Apple and it's going to be new, and it's, you know, if it's not an S, it's going to be a new number.
Well, one of the things that was announced this year was the Apple Pen, I believe is what it's called.
Yes.
Which is basically a stylus that has been reimagined and upgraded. And one of the things that Apple does is that they're not always necessarily the first people to come out with something, but usually when they come out with it,
it's the better version.
It's the better version. And so I have a stylus.
Any bias there?
Yes, very much, actually. I will not. I hold no reservations about that. I am an iOS junkie software type of person, and I'm an Apple person. This is basically it.
Meanwhile, Sandra over there,
hey, she jumped the gun. She jumped the gun way too soon, and hopefully this entices her to come back. But hey, I'm not. I'll
Anjelica is still holding it against me that I exchanged my Apple iPhone for a Samsung Android-based phone.
You love it, which all that matters.
I adore my phone.
You absolutely
I'm sorry.
love it. You love it.
Absolutely.
Now,
But
I will say that it was a much needed improvement, because the iPhone you were carrying around was like the iPhone 3.
The iPhone 3, and how long were you carrying that for?
Well, I carried it until they stopped letting me update the operating system because it still worked perfectly.
Yes.
I had an iPhone 3GS and it worked perfectly. Why should I change out my phone if my phone was working fine?
I think you're at the point where they were going to give you a free one if you just made the upgrade at this point. But
I don't like change. What can I say? I don't like change.
So I was an Android user before, walking into this. I was an Android user before, and my phones broke constantly. Something was always not working. There was glitches. It turned off the battery, so on and so forth. And when I made the jump to Apple, I fell in love, and my Apples they just last. They last to where I can now give my phone in, like I can do a trade-in for a new device, a new upgrade device. And simply it. That's
I don't
it.
like trading in my phones. Mine's still my old phones are still in my house in my drawers.
To do what? Use as paperweights?
I don't know.
Space.
Just to keep.
Back to the original topic. So the announcement came out, and they rolled out these new devices. They rolled out they showed us the features of a new operating system, and I have to tell you, there is one feature of the new operating system for the iPad that has me that's given me pause and saying, ooh, maybe I really should upgrade. I have an iPad. I have an iPad 3. It's functional for me. I use it as a business device. The new feature that they have in the new operating system is the ability to run two apps side by side in a split screen.
I've seen that upgrade.
And that has me salivating going, ooh, that looks nice. I want that. So I have friends who have Android tablets, and I really had considered switching to an Android tablet because the ability to run a video on half the screen while you're checking your email, or surf the net on one side while you're writing a paper or whatever, it was very helpful.
This is the way the world works now. Everywhere I go, all the offices I visit, it's two screens. They're running two screens.
And every workspace
It is effective.
Every workspace I have has two screens. And so the ability to run a split screen, have two apps running at the same time on iPad would be so helpful to me. Unfortunately, this particular upgrade only works in the newer version of the iPad.
Why else would they give us that new?
Of course.
We're all going to be blind as bats pretty soon because we keep trying to do so much on those little screens. But I'm curious, what is it about that particular app that you are so intrigued by?
Well, it helps. One of the things that slows me down on an iPad is having to switch from screen to screen. For example, earlier today, I was preparing for the show, and I was going from a Word document to a slide like a PowerPoint or a SlideShare document, having to take notes from one and put it in the other. And so read a paragraph, and then I had to flip over to the other one to write it down and had to flip back. And so if I had them side by side...
I had that same problem actually this morning. I had to pull out the iPad. I was like, all right, I can't do this. So I pulled out the iPad as my second screen to look at what I needed to do.
Yes. And sometimes I'll do that on my phone. Like I'll pull up the reference material on my phone and I'll do the typing or whatever on my iPad. This is when I'm not in front of, quote unquote, my real computer.
All right.
My real computer, I can do this stuff, no problem. So that's from that particular perspective, it would help me. I should be telling you that what I really want to do is run Netflix on one side and do no. Of course, that
might happen occasionally.
I was just gonna say, because last night I went to bed and I was planning the way I was gonna lay out, and so I was laying in the bed. And I had my iPad on my chest playing the new season of Modern Family. And I had my mobile phone on the other hand so I could still be on social media.
There you go. And you could have done both of them on the iPad.
On the same thing.
So you could have. But I would have to upgrade to a new version of the iPad. No, I don't have to. My iPad works perfectly.
So speaking on shiny new things, I am a big iPhone person. I love my iPhone, and I cannot get past. I love my iPad. I love my new computer. Thank you very much, Juan. But I love iPhones. And so the new features on the iPhones are just, as you said, over the iPad Air. I am salivating over this thing. It has a front-facing camera with the new megapixels, the backward-facing camera with the updated megapixels, and now you can do this thing where your phone has a moving photo, so to speak. So when you take the picture, and if you want it's that 3D touch thing, you hold it a little bit longer, and it kind of shows you 2-3 seconds before you take the picture. So it's like a how would you call this? Like a
preview?
Sort of. It's a moving photo, basically.
Okay.
And I'm over it. This is what I want in my hand now.
But I think that's what I'm most excited about too, is the camera, because right now I have an iPhone 5S, I think, and what I'm gonna get is the iPhone 6S Plus, and it's for two things, because the size of it is so big. And, I'm like, I have never had a phone that big, so I want a phone that big, one. And two, the other reason that I want that phone is because of the camera. I just think I'm not a good photographer, but if the camera can help me take better pictures, I want it.
So not only that, Juan, but it takes it takes even better video.
Oh, that too.
It takes even better video. That, as y'all know, I am a very visual person. And so anything that can up my ante and up my game, and I don't have to buy another camera, as I have here in front of me, actually 2 cameras, to a DSLR and a basic camera. But I have to.
And pictures are so important these days.
They are.
We went to Blog Elevated, which is a conference here in Dallas recently, and they had a session that somebody was talking about Instagram and how important pictures are, and the level of like detail and the aesthetics, and it was so much. When we left there, my brain hurt. I was like literally standing out in the hallway like, oh my God, it was too much information to contain.
He did. He was having a hard time processing what he had just heard.
But talking about drawbacks of things, I do have my iPad. I adore it. And so one of the things that I did recently is I updated to the new operating system that Apple put out. Uh-huh. And it broke things.
I've heard more than one people say that.
It broke things, and I was so upset because one of the things that it broke was my ability to listen to podcasts on my iPad.
No.
Hold
on, that is
no more the Little Radio Show.
What an oxymoron! I know. We're doing a podcast, and it broke your podcast.
I know. So one of the things that I hadn't switched over from my Apple to Android was how I listen to podcasts. I have all my podcast subscriptions on iTunes. I listen to it, and what I would do is I would synchronize it to my iPad, take it with me, and listen to it on my iPad. I've looked this up. I know that other people are having the same problem. I have done a factory reset and restore on my iPad. I've done everything that I have found. Yes. And the app crashes.
Oh, no.
It opens, it says, updating library, and it crashes. And I don't care what I do. I had to make a decision on what was going to happen because without being able to listen. Podcasts are my radio. Yes. Podcasts are my radio. I actually had to go out and find an Android alternative. And
to listen to the podcast.
And that's what I've done, is I found an app that would allow me to import all of my subscriptions from iTunes, and it's updating, and I'm listening to it, and I'm very happy with the app that I found on Android, but I'm very upset that I had to do this because I updated the operating system to the one that Apple put out, and it's not an unknown thing.
I've been known many a times to not update my software until like months later when they figured it out, until everybody else's devices have broken and don't know if it's their actual phone or if it's the operating system. I don't like, although I love Apple, sometimes their Apple techies at the Apple store, it's like sometimes it doesn't work. It's like the relationship between me and them is it's so unfunctioning.
So it's a dysfunctional relationship.
Yes, it is.
I'm a sucker, because I immediately, as soon as it's like, ooh, new, it's shiny, I want to get it. And
update. Yeah, you do that, and I wait for him to break it.
I waited a few weeks.
I didn't wait long enough, and I should have known better. Now there's another setting on there waiting for me to update again, which whatever it is that was broken, they're trying to fix it now. But speaking of shiny new things, the iPhone is supposed to be stronger. The aluminum, the back, it's supposed to, the build of it is supposed to be nicer, which is, I don't usually break my phones, but my broken phone now, I am very I've been trying to convince myself to go get, not to go get a new one, because I really shouldn't be spending an extra $300-$400 if I don't absolutely have to, but the glass is supposed to be stronger.
Oh, that's good.
That is impressive. Now I'm convinced. Well, I've convinced myself. I just have to convince my other half here that I need this new phone. But speaking of shiny new things,
what did they say?
Stronger glass.
TBD, because I think we both want the new devices. But I think the $1 million question on everybody's mind is, Sandra, are you going to make the switch?
Back to iPhone? No.
No, she's not. She said it time and time again.
See, I'm going to tell you that I have the best of both worlds. I get to test out the iPhone. I get to test out the iOS environment on my iPad, and I get to test out the Android environment on my phone, and then from that perspective,
you're good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
You're good.
I don't believe I will be making the switch from an iPad tablet to an Android tablet anytime soon, because again, I hate change, and I've got my tablet just the way I want it to, from all of my shortcuts, all of the synchronization, except for, of course, the fact that they broke my podcast.
Oh, no.
But for the rest of you, I invite you to go on to thelittleradio.show.com and chime in and let us know what operating system you prefer on your phone.
Are you team iPhone or are you team Android? Let us know.
Why does it have to be one or the other?
Because you can't be both.
You want to double dip like Sandra.
You can't be both. Yeah. You can't live within that river. You are on this side or you're on that side. We wait from each other. We're friends.
And the rest of us will hope that Apple fixes the bugs in the new operating system so that Anjelica will actually start upgrading her machines.
If you're just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show on hmsnetradio.org. So right before we were about to start this segment, Anjelica said she doesn't have any of these quirks, but I think so. I'm gonna call you on that one in a minute. But one of the things with our next topic, we're gonna talk about the things that we do on a regular basis or things that we participate in or what it may be that we're kind of embarrassed that if we're in front of a room of people publicly that we probably wouldn't be inclined to say, oh yeah, I do that. Because you're kind of embarrassed about it.
But now we're going to say it on radio.
Because you can't see our faces. But I'm going to start, and I'll say that I have a lot of quirks. Like, I have a lot of things that I do, and I like to say that they're like OCDs. Because they're things that I do that just are, they really don't have an explanation. Like, anytime I leave the house, like, I have to go and make sure that the stove is off, and then I have to go and make sure that the door is locked. And when I say that, I don't mean I just go and I check once. But no, I'll go back and I'll check. And then I'll walk around. And then I'll come back and I'll check again. And I'll do this at least 3 to 5 times on the stove. And then I'll go and lock the door. And then I'll pull it and yank it and making sure that it is locked. And then some days I have been one to drive off and then think in my head. Because I'm thinking something while I'm doing this. And I'm getting in my car and I'm driving away. And I'm like on the freeway. And I'm like, did I lock the door? And so I'll turn around, and I'll drive all the way back home, and I'll get off the car, go and nudge the door, yank it back and forth. Okay, it's locked, and then I'll leave.
Oh, my God. So, I thought I was the only one.
You do that, too?
Not about the locking of the door, but the garage door down. Mm-hmm. So usually I've got like I guess you would call it a routine. And if something throws me off of my routine, I don't remember doing it. And I have, in fact, driven home to make sure that I close the garage door. Now, I should mention that for all the times I've done this, I have never found that I forgot to close the garage door. But otherwise, I know I'm going to spend the entire day worrying about it.
I don't have that issue.
No.
Like, I feel I myself have left doors completely open. And not remembered, not cared, and the only thing that does bother me sometimes...
Maybe that's why I have that obsession.
Oh, Anjelica, you're causing his quirks.
I think I am. I might be doing that. But the only thing that does sometimes that I go back and look and make sure that I haven't done it is if I've turned off the fire after I cooked. But I don't cook early in the morning to know that, these kinds of things. But Juan, I would not have cooked that day, and he's obsessed over the stove. Like, he'll go and make sure it's off. It's like, I never touched it. You never touched it. How are you checking to see if it's on still from yesterday? It confuses me very much.
You just never know. But I do want to ask you, how many times have we had to drive back to find your phone because you left it somewhere?
That's not a quirk.
I think that's a thing that you do that you're like every time.
I'm not ashamed to admit that.
She's constantly.
The world knows this.
It's either she leaves her phone behind somewhere and we have to drive somewhere all the way back, or she's constantly pouring out everything in her purse because she can't find where her phone is.
I dumped my entire purse out. I've left my phone at Juan's mom's house and then had to come back for it the next day. And I looked for it and it was she looked for it herself a little bit and she couldn't find it. And I was like, no, it has to be there somewhere. So, and I looked around the couches and it was there. It was there, but it's not a big deal to me. So
I think your thing is forgetfulness, and specifically about your device.
No. See, I don't think that qualifies.
Yeah.
What? So is that one of your things? People invading your space?
Yeah, that is one of my things. I am very much, am I embarrassed to admit this?
Because, Latinos are they get in your space.
Yes.
They're very touchy-feely.
If you're looking at me and your intent is to come in and hug me, I absolutely am all for it. But if you come behind me...
Because you have warning.
Yes, because I can see you and I know what your intention is. But if you come behind me and put your arm around me, I get very comfortable. I'm like... and I stiff up. I have no idea what the conversation is taking place anymore. I kind of look up like a very little scared 5-year-old, like, "Hi, how are you doing?"
I have to hold back because my gut reaction because I don't know if it's because I've always worked with a lot of Latinos, and so my gut reaction is always to go in for the hug, and sometimes for the kiss. So I'm like,
and a lot of people that doesn't work.
Yeah,
but that is. But it is. Sometimes I do freak, or when people stand very close to me, and when I don't know your intention and you're very close to me. I've said this. I've actually gone on rants before where we're at a store, in line somewhere, and if I can hear you breathe, you're absolutely too close to me. And at this point, I'm beyond being embarrassed to tell you anything. I'm just frustrated. Like, you've given me anxiety.
They're invading your space.
Yes, you've given me anxiety. I don't like anxiety. Don't come give me anxiety by standing close to me. I turn around and I'm like, and so what she actually had that conversation with, I forget her name, who it was, but she did say that where people come in and invade your space. And I've done this before where you leave your foot and you kind of step out of the line.
Tricks to use whenever somebody's in your space. And the other trick was she talked about her purse.
Oh, where she grabs her purse and flings it around, and if she hits you with her purse, you're too close.
Oh, okay, then everybody's too close to me.
But yes.
Well, when
you have a few.
Oh, I've got
you
lots,
mentioned some.
sweetie. I've got lots of stuff, sweetie. What are you talking about?
Which one?
No. But I think everyone has OCD tendencies to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
And when my nephew was younger, and my sister would she'd get upset with me because I thought it was funny. He would grab all of the sugar packets and he'd create a perfect rectangle or a square, and I would steal one, and that would ruin his entire day because it was no longer perfect.
And you just had to steal it.
And I just had to steal it. And she's like, "You're being mean to him." I thought it was interesting. He was already showing these little smallish OCD tendencies that tend to run in my family.
Que mala la tía Sandra.
Oh, sweetie, you've got no idea. My sister made me stop. I would give it back. No, but anyway. But there are things that that we believe or that we do, or that these unconscious things that, for example, I still go and I touch babies, especially if they're Latinos.
Oh, yeah.
Or for ojo. I absolutely believe ojo exists. I'm sorry. For those of you who are out
superstition.
there, that's the only superstition I have.
Oh,
but
okay.
for those of you out there who have no idea what I'm talking about, ojo basically means the evil eye, and so there's this belief, and I don't know if it's in every country, but in the part of Mexico where my family is from, there's a belief that if you stare at someone too intensely, you can make something bad happen to them.
You can make them sick. I think
you can make them sick. And so with babies, especially because they have a weaker constitution, by going up to the baby and touching them, you break this evil eye thing that you do. It's a compliment, really, that you're doing to them. But it's one of those things where if the people that you're touching the strange baby from don't understand why you've come up and touched them, it's like, no le voy a hacer ojo, and you touch them. And usually they just give me a smile and it's okay. It's all done. But
I've done that myself. I've never had anybody slap me away.
Yeah, well, but I used to work for this paralegal. She was American. She had a little boy who was the cutest little blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby. She loved taquerias. She'd go to these little out-of-the-way taquerias, and we were talking about it, and she goes, "Oh, is that like for good luck?" Yes.
Now, American or Anglo?
Anglo, absolutely. But she's a white American, and she said, they come up and they touch his head. Is that for good luck? These little ladies. And I'm like, no. And I'm trying to explain ojo to her and how it's really a compliment, not them trying to give him the evil eye. And she looked at me like I was insane. She's like,
see, this is what Cristela needed to have on her show. This episode right here.
This episode happening right here. Edgar, he was, when he was a baby, he had this afro. He had dark black hair. His eyes were a little bit lighter, pero he looked like un peluche. You know what I mean? He looked like a fake baby. And I remember once when I was at my mom's house, somebody came and knocked. We were on the porch. Edgar was asleep. He was in the car. The windows were rolled down, and we were right in front of the car. One of the ladies came into the yard and came and had a conversation with my mom. I think she was trying to sell her something. The only thing I remember was that on her way out, she looked into the car and she seen him, and she got closer and looked in even closer, stared at him intensely for a little bit, and then before walking away, she looked at me and said, "Cuídalo," which means take care of him. And I was like, touch him.
Yeah,
I did.
So
I'm like,
ominous.
wait, where are you going? What do you mean take care of him? What does this mean? To help me. What's going on? And that I never forget that, because we've instilled these superstitions in our life that it's like.
Now, since you all brought it up, what's when you get ojo, how do you cure it?
Oh, there's okay. Now you've done that. You're talking about the limpia with the egg and whatever.
Egg.
I've seen it done once. I've never had it done. But there's
my sister gets it done regularly.
Home remedy kind of thing, and it's supposed to be some sort of like you clean the aura or you clean away the evil, and it's a ritual or something, and it has to be made with an egg. That's all I know.
Okay, so what takes place in una limpia, which is a cleaning of sort of the soul and your ambiance and your presence on this earth.
And now we're really delving into stuff that the majority of the people who are listening have no idea what we're talking about.
Am I embarrassed that I know this? Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
More embarrassing would be to say, have you ever done a limpia?
When I was younger, yes. When I was in my late teens, I did still believe in them.
Okay, so tell us how the limpia works.
Okay, so what happens is, usually there is an egg that's present. It doesn't have to be, but in some instances where this egg happens, you grab an egg and you there's no chanting. What you do is you create these positive vibes in the room. The person that you're giving una limpia
it's a regular egg, chicken egg, like organic, or does it matter?
You have to stop it. Let's move on. When you're in Mexico, of course it's organic. ¿De dónde más va a ser? So you create these, you think positive thoughts, and you sort of run this egg through their body. We've done that egg thing once, and that's kind of because her grandmother did it, and she had done it often, and this is the only reason I know why the egg thing exists. And what happens at the end, you take this egg and you're supposed to crack it. And it's supposed to give this, inside the yolk, it's supposed to give like this cloudy figure of something, and you're supposed to make sense of that somehow.
You're supposed to read the egg.
You're supposed to read the yolk of the egg from this cloudiness that it has.
Yeah, see, that sounds weird to me.
That sounds awkward.
And I've seen it done, and that sounds weird to me.
Yeah. So, and the other form of, there is an egg, but there doesn't have to be. You can do the egg. What I do sometimes, and I can still... I think that I might still do it later or now, and if it happens to me, that's fine, where it's actual herbs that you kind of burn or that you limpia, you kind of just clean, and the smell is supposed to bring you good thoughts. And for the ojo, this is what you do. And sometimes you take these little hierba buenas or something, or sage type of thing, and you just kind of run it through the body just to give the baby or the person a better aura.
And real quick, is the red thread on the forehead, or the red thread around the bracelet?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's a whole other thing.
That's another thing?
I don't know.
All right.
I'm not familiar with that one either.
Well, so for all of you out there, we're going to stop now, because I'm sure that we could go on for quite a while as we ourselves discover things that we had forgotten that we do believe or encounter that might be a little bit embarrassing. For those of you out there, please go ahead and feel free and join us in our embarrassment, and let us know the things that you do or you believe that you might not feel so comfortable telling the entire world as we just did.
And if you know how to do ojo another way, leave it in the comments.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes channel and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link on our iTunes channel at thelittlradioshow.com. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org.